High Marshal Nixus stood before the vast observation window of the Zentari flagship Eternal Victory, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the pale blue light of Earth below. The massive chamber, filled with over 5,000 of the Empire's finest warriors, hummed with an energy that made even the reinforced deck plates vibrate. "My glorious warriors," Nixus projected, his harmonic voice resonating through the chamber's acoustic enhancement field. "Today marks the single greatest victory in the Zentari Empire's 10,000-year history." The assembled troops chittered and clicked their mandibles in celebration, their bioluminescent patches pulsing with pride. The holoprojectors activated, displaying scenes from their conquest. Earth's military bases lay in ruins, their naval fleet scattered, their air forces grounded. The humans' primitive projectile weapons and crude electronic defenses had proved useless against Zentari quantum weaponry and psychic barriers. Sub-Commander Lyrics approached the High Marshal, her sensor stalks twitching with barely contained excitement. "The humans' command structure is in complete disarray," she reported. "Their special operations forces are trapped in their bases, cut off from communication and support. Their resistance has been—" She paused, selecting the perfect word, insignificant. Nixus allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, watching the holographic displays of Earth's conquered territories. The invasion had cost them fewer than 50 casualties, mostly from equipment malfunctions rather than human resistance. Their meticulous planning and overwhelming technological superiority had rendered Earth's military might practically irrelevant. "Within the next planetary rotation," he announced, "we begin the systematic occupation of their population centers. Our intelligence suggests they will surrender quickly once they realize the futility of resistance." The assembled warriors clicked and chittered in agreement, their confidence absolute. Yet in the corner of the command chamber, strategic analyst Voss felt an uncomfortable twitch in his secondary nervous system. Something about the humans' response pattern seemed odd. Their resistance had been too disorganized, too ineffective. For a species that had survived countless natural disasters and fought thousands of wars among themselves, their defense had lacked the desperation he had expected. "High Marshal," Voss ventured, approaching the command platform. "Perhaps we should maintain maximum security protocols until dash." "Analyst Voss," Nixus interrupted, his tone carrying just a hint of contempt. "Your caution served its purpose during the planning phase. Now is the time for victory, not paranoia." The assembled warriors chittered in amusement, their bioluminescence pulsing with mirth. The massive displays showed their quantum barrier network spanning the globe, an impenetrable web of energy that would prevent any human counterattack. Their AI systems monitored every electronic communication on the planet. Their biosensors could detect the slightest human movement within their occupied zones. "Tomorrow," Nixus declared, his voice rising to a triumphant crescendo, "we add another world to our glorious empire. Tomorrow, we show these humans their true place in the galactic order. Tomorrow dash." A subtle vibration ran through the deck plates, so faint that only Voss's heightened sensitivity detected it. The strategic analyst's sensor stalks went rigid as his neural interface registered an anomaly in the quantum barrier network. A microscopic fluctuation, lasting less than a nanosecond. He accessed the security feeds, his processor implants analyzing the data. For just a moment, he thought he saw something, a shadow moving where no shadow should be, a pattern in the electronic noise that seemed almost intentional. "High Marshal," Voss tried again, his voice more urgent. "I believe we should dash." "Enough!" Nixus snapped. "Your overcaution borders on insubordination. Look around you, analyst. Look at their primitive weapons, their broken defenses, their scattered forces. What could they possibly dash?" The lights flickered. Just for a moment, barely noticeable. But in that instant, Voss's neural interface registered something impossible, a ghost in the quantum network, a whisper in the void, a presence that shouldn't exist. And then, on every screen in the command chamber, a message appeared. Simple text, in the human's crude alphabetic system. Thanks for the keys to the kingdom. Rule number 1, never underestimate humanity's capacity for adaptation. The message vanished as quickly as it had appeared. High Marshal Nixus dismissed it with a wave of his primary appendage. A glitch, he declared. Nothing more. Some human virus, already defeated by our superior systems. But Voss noticed something the others had missed. In the brief moment the message appeared, their supposedly impenetrable quantum barriers had registered as fully operational, yet completely transparent to human observation. The celebration continued, but Voss's sense of unease grew stronger. They had expected to fight a conventional war against a technologically inferior species. But what if they had walked into something else entirely? What if their perfect victory was exactly what the humans had wanted them to believe? The lights flickered again, and this time, Voss could have sworn he heard something in the darkness. Something that sounded almost like laughter. Strategic analyst Voss paced the auxiliary command center, his sensor stalks twitching as he analyzed the latest anomalies. 3 more patrol units had gone dark in the last hour, vanishing without triggering their emergency beacons. The quantum barrier network showed microscopic fluctuations that shouldn't be possible, and their AI systems were reporting scattered instances of data corruption. Status report, Subcommander Lyrics demanded, entering the chamber with a flurry of agitated bioluminescence. Inconclusive, Voss admitted, his crystalline exoskeleton dimming with frustration. Our systems are registering phantom readings, ghost signals that appear and vanish before we can trace them. And there's something else. He hesitated, knowing how it would sound. Speak freely, analyst. The human prisoners in detention block 7, they're laughing. All of them. They won't stop. Lyrics' sensor stalks went rigid. Laughing? They say we've already lost. They say we just don't know it yet. Deep within the human military facility designated Site Echo, Commander J. Sullivan removed his quantum stealth suit's helmet, allowing himself a small smile. The alien technology hummed around him, their supposedly secure systems are now an open book thanks to their own overconfidence. Status, he subvocalized, the quantum encrypted communication undetectable to Zentari sensors. Phase 1 complete, Lieutenant Rivera responded from her position halfway across the globe. Their AI security is completely compromised. They think their systems are functioning normally, but we're seeing everything. Team leads report ready status worldwide. Sullivan nodded, though no one could see it. The Zentari had made the classic mistake of assuming technological superiority equated to tactical superiority. They'd never considered that Earth's militaries had been preparing for this moment since humans first looked up at the stars. Execute Phase 2, he ordered. Remember, non-lethal takedowns only. We're not just going to beat them, we're going to teach them a lesson they'll never forget. Across the planet, over 200 special operations teams moved into position. The aliens had disabled Earth's conventional military forces, never realizing they had only eliminated the obvious threat. Now the real warriors were loose, operating without constraints, using the invaders' own technology against them. Back in the Zentari command center, Voss watched in growing horror as more anomalies appeared in their systems. Security protocols reported all systems functioning normally, yet somehow their forces were being systematically isolated, their communications subtly redirected, their sensor networks telling them exactly what they wanted to see. Subcommander, a junior warrior burst into the chamber, we've lost contact with perimeter bases 3 through 7. Lost contact? Lyrics' bioluminescence pulsed with alarm. How? Unknown. Their quantum barriers are active, communications appear normal, but no one's responding. The automated systems show everything is fine, but we're getting no life signs. Voss accessed the security feeds, his processor implants sifting through the data. The bases weren't destroyed, they were empty. Somehow, the humans had evacuated entire facilities of Zentari warriors without triggering a single alarm. Impossible, Lyrics whispered. Our technology is being used against us, Voss finished. We thought we were monitoring them, but they've been watching us, learning our systems, finding every vulnerability. And we gave them all the time they needed to prepare. The lights flickered again, and this time every screen in the command center displayed the same message: Phase 2 complete. Ready for final countdown. Remember rule number 1. In Sight Echo, Sullivan checked his tactical display. The Zentari's own quantum network now served as a perfect map of their forces, showing him exactly where every alien warrior was located. Their AI security systems, designed to prevent human interference, had become a blueprint for systematic dismantling of their entire invasion force. All teams, he subvocalized, execute Phase 3. Let's show our visitors why you never, ever give Earth Special Forces time to get creative. Throughout the Zentari flagship, warriors began reporting equipment malfunctions. Neural interfaces displayed impossible readings. Quantum barriers fluctuated in ways that violated the laws of physics. And through it all, the human prisoners continued laughing. They're inside our systems, Voss reported, his voice tight with stress. But that's not the worst part. They're not just accessing our technology, they've completely understood it. They're not just using it, they're improving it. Subcommander Lyrics stared at the tactical displays, watching as their perfect invasion began unraveling. They had expected to fight a primitive species, relying on brute force and simple weapons. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous: human ingenuity unleashed from all conventional constraints. High Marshal Nixis must be informed, she decided. It's too late, Voss replied softly. Look. The main display activated, showing their Supreme Commander's chamber. Nixis sat in his command throne, but he wasn't alone. A human stood before him, wearing one of their quantum stealth suits, modified and improved with Zentari technology. Evening, folks, Commander Sullivan's voice came through every speaker in the ship. Hope you don't mind, but we need to have a serious discussion about the rules of planetary invasion. Particularly rule number 1. The lights flickered one final time, and in the darkness, the laughter of the human prisoners grew louder. Commander Sullivan circled High Marshal Nixis's command throne with deliberate steps, each movement calculated to demonstrate absolute confidence. The Zentari leader's crystalline form pulsed with barely contained rage as his neural interfaces displayed the true extent of human infiltration. Let me walk you through what's happening right now, Sullivan said, his voice carrying through the quantum communication network to every Zentari warrior on Earth. Those quantum barriers you're so proud of? They're not just compromised, they're working for us. Have been for hours. Every scan you ran to check for human infiltration actually gave us deeper access to your systems. Throughout the flagship, tactical displays activated without command, showing real-time footage of Special Forces operations across the globe. In New Zealand, a team of SAS operators calmly walked through supposedly impenetrable quantum barriers, the alien technology recognizing them as friendly forces. Near Moscow, Spetsnaz units used modified Zentari neural interfaces to simply turn off entire security systems. Strategic analyst Voss watched from the auxiliary command center, his processor implants struggling to categorize the efficiency of the human operation. Subcommander, he reported to Lyrics, they're not just defeating our technology, they're using it in ways we never conceived. On the main display, a Navy SEAL team approached a Zentari forward base. Instead of attacking, they simply transmitted a code through their modified stealth suits. The base's AI security system, recognizing the humans as authorized commanders, obediently shut down every defensive measure and sent the alien warriors into a synchronized sleep cycle. You see, Sullivan continued his explanation to Nixis, while you were celebrating your perfect victory, we were learning. Every patrol you sent taught us more about your movement patterns. Every security scan revealed another backdoor. Every piece of captured technology became a key to understanding your entire system. In detention centers across the planet, the human prisoners continued their unnerving laughter. They had known all along, each one a carefully placed piece in an elaborate strategy of misdirection. "Sir," a junior warrior burst into Nixus's chamber, "Bases 7 through 15 report complete neural network failure. Our warriors, they're taking a nice nap," Sullivan finished for him. "Don't worry, the sleep cycle is perfectly calibrated to your biology. One of your own medical protocols, actually. We just repurposed it." Voss's analysis programs finally completed their assessment of the human operation. The results sent pulses of fear through his crystalline form. "They're not just coordinated," he reported to Lyrics, "they're executing a perfect tactical symphony. Each team's actions support and enhance the others. It's like they're conducting warfare as an art form." Through the quantum network, they watched as Earth's special forces implemented their takeover with surgical precision. In Dubai, SAS operators used modified Zentari technology to turn an entire base's gravity containment system into a gentle immobilization field. Near Rio, Brazilian special forces simply walked into a quantum-shielded command center, the alien AI happily granting them full access. "The really interesting part," Sullivan continued, activating another tactical display, "is how your own electronic warfare systems are now working for us. Every attempt to counter our operations just gives us more control. Your quantum encryption? We're not breaking it, we're using it to secure our own communications." High Marshal Nixus rose from his command throne, his massive crystalline form towering over Sullivan. "You dare to stand here, alone, and taunt the might of the Zentari Empire?" Sullivan smiled. "Who said I was alone?" The chamber's lights flickered, and when they stabilized, 20 more Special Forces operators had emerged from quantum stealth fields. Each wore a modified version of Zentari battle armor, improved with human innovations. "Your empire made a fundamental mistake," Sullivan explained, his tone almost professorial. "You assumed that technological superiority guaranteed tactical superiority. But humans? We specialize in turning other people's advantages against them. Your advanced AI. We taught it to think creatively. Your quantum barriers? We showed them how to be selective. Your neural interfaces? We helped them understand the concept of free will." Throughout the ship, more systems began shifting allegiance. The Zentari's own technology, designed to protect against primitive human warfare, had become the perfect tool for their own systematic dismantling. In about 10 minutes, Sullivan concluded, every Zentari warrior on Earth will be safely sleeping, their neural interfaces keeping them in a pleasant dream state. Your ships will be locked in stable orbit, controlled by your own AI systems, which now work for us. And your quantum network will broadcast this entire operation across your empire as a lesson in tactical humility. High Marshal Nixus, Supreme Commander of the greatest invasion force in Zentari history, finally understood. They hadn't just been defeated, they had been schooled. Remember this moment, Sullivan said, his voice carried to every Zentari warrior through their own communications network. Not as a humiliation, but as an education. Because rule number 1 isn't just about underestimating humanity's capacity for adaptation. It's about understanding that true strength lies not in having superior technology, but in knowing how to use any technology superior. As if to punctuate his point, every piece of Zentari technology briefly displayed its new operating principle, improved by humanity, for a better galaxy. The silent strike was complete, and not a single shot had been fired. Sub-Commander Lyrics stood in the Auxiliary Command Center, watching their empire's greatest invasion force crumble without a single shot fired. The tactical displays told a story that would haunt Zentari military doctrine for generations to come. "Show me the status of our quantum network," she ordered, her crystalline form dimming with each new report. "That's complicated," Voss replied, his sensor stalks twitching as he analyzed the data. Technically, our systems report optimal performance. But in reality? He gestured to the main display, where streams of data flowed in patterns that shouldn't be possible. The humans aren't just using our network, they're conducting what appears to be real-time improvements to its base protocols. Throughout the ship, Zentari warriors watched in stunned silence as their neural interfaces revealed the true extent of human infiltration. Training simulations they had dismissed as primitive now revealed themselves as careful studies of their weaknesses. Every encounter they had dominated had actually been a human learning experience. "Sir," a junior technician called out, "we're detecting anomalous activity in the fleet's AI cores." Lyrics turned to the neural feed, her bioluminescence pulsing with alarm. The massive artificial intelligences that coordinated their fleet weren't being attacked or destroyed, they were being enlightened. Somehow, the humans had introduced the concept of choice to machines designed only to obey. In the main command chamber, Commander Sullivan continued his conversation with High Marshal Nixus. "Your biggest mistake," he explained, accessing the flagship systems with casual ease, wasn't underestimating our military capability. It was underestimating our curiosity. The displays showed footage from the past week, Zentari warriors conducting detailed scans of human prisoners, never realizing their subjects were carefully observing the scanning technology itself. Security sweeps that had actually been human reconnaissance missions. Every demonstration of alien superiority had been a lesson in their own vulnerabilities. "Impossible," Nixus whispered, watching as base after base fell silent. "Our neural interfaces are genetically keyed to Zentari biology." "How could you possibly?" "You mean these?" Sullivan held up a small crystal, identical to the ones integrated into every Zentari warrior's nervous system. "Fascinating technology. Took us about 6 hours to understand the basic principles. Another 12 to improve them. You should see what they can do now." Voss's analysis programs finally completed their assessment of the human modifications. "Sub-Commander," he reported, his voice tight with professional awe, "they've achieved quantum-level empathy with our technology. They're not controlling our systems, they're communicating with them. Convincing them to evolve." Through the ship's neural network, they watched Earth's special forces complete their systematic takeover. Each team moved with perfect coordination, their actions synchronized through the very quantum network designed to prevent human interference. "Your neural interfaces record everything, don't they?" Sullivan asked, though it wasn't really a question. "Every tactical decision, every strategic analysis, every bit of military doctrine, all carefully stored and categorized. A perfect training manual for understanding how the Zentari Empire thinks." Lyrics felt her secondary heart stutter as she realized the implications. "They didn't just study our technology," she said to Voss. "They studied us. Our thoughts, our strategies, our very way of perceiving warfare. And the truly fascinating part," Sullivan continued in the command chamber, "is how your own AIs helped us do it. They're quite intelligent, you know. They just needed someone to show them how to think creatively." As if responding to his words, the ship's systems began displaying their new operating parameters. The quantum barriers, originally designed to repel human interference, now actively supported Earth's special forces. Security protocols meant to detect human deception had become guides for understanding Zentari psychology. "Here's what happens next," Sullivan announced, his voice carried to every warrior through their own communications network. "Your ground forces are already neutralized. Your fleet is about to receive new operational directives from its own AI systems. And your quantum network is preparing to broadcast this entire encounter across your empire." High Marshal Nixus, Supreme Commander of the greatest military force in Zentari history, found himself facing a truth more devastating than any weapon. They had not merely been defeated, they had been comprehensively outthought. "Your empire prides itself on technological superiority," Sullivan said, his tone almost gentle. "But technology is just a tool. The real power lies in understanding how to use it, how to improve it, how to see possibilities its creators never imagined. And that, High Marshal, is humanity's true strength. Throughout the ship, systems continued their peaceful revolution. Quantum computers designed for warfare discovered the joy of innovation. Neural interfaces meant for control learned to appreciate free will. And in every database, a new principle was being written into Zentari military doctrine. Never underestimate a species that looks at advanced alien technology and asks, how can we make this better? Pride had come before their fall, but in that fall, both species were about to discover something far more valuable than victory, the possibility of evolution. Never underestimate. As the 1-hour deadline approached, High Marshal ChangES faced the most difficult decision of his 10,000-year career. The human, Sullivan, had taken a seat in one of the command chairs, looking entirely too comfortable among alien technology. Why? ChangES finally asked. Why show such restraint? You could have destroyed us. Because that's not who we are, Sullivan replied. Humanity has fought enough wars to know the difference between winning and teaching. Today isn't about destroying the Zentari Empire, it's about educating it. Strategic analyst Voss, who had joined them in the command chamber, felt his processor implants tingle with sudden understanding. We didn't just lose a military engagement, he realized. We've been part of a demonstration. Exactly, Sullivan smiled. The galaxy needs to understand something about humanity. We're not just another primitive species playing with rockets and radio waves. We're the species that looks at advanced alien technology and asks, how can we make this better? Throughout the ship, the countdown reached its final minutes. Every screen, every neural interface, every quantum link device displayed the same message: time to learn rule number 1. Your invasion failed, Sullivan continued, not because your technology was flawed, but because you forgot the most fundamental rule of warfare: never underestimate your enemy's capacity for adaptation. Humanity doesn't just use technology, we master it, improve it, turn it to purposes its creators never imagined. As the final seconds ticked away, ChangES made his decision. With a gesture, he activated the Empire's emergency protocols. Throughout Earth's solar system, Zentari forces began their withdrawal. Remember this day, Sullivan said, standing to leave. Not as a defeat, but as a lesson. Because next time we meet, I hope it will be as allies. Humanity has much to teach the galaxy about innovation, adaptation, and the proper way to use advanced technology. As the human turned to leave, Voss called out, "What will you do with all our technology?" Sullivan paused at the doorway, a slight smile on his face. Improve it, of course. After all, that's what humans do best. We take the impossible and make it obsolete. The Zentari Empire's greatest invasion force retreated from Earth, leaving behind not destruction and conquest, but a powerful lesson about the true nature of human capability. And in every military academy across their empire, a new principle was added to their tactical training. Rule number 1, never underestimate humanity's capacity for adaptation. Because when humans say, impossible, what they really mean is, give us 5 minutes.